What's poppin', everybody? My name is Paul Esgin Jr., a.k.a. Boy Green. I'm the New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. And oh my, we've got some exciting things to discuss with the Jets, New York Jets, 2022 NFL draft class coming to a close. He came to a close a lot earlier today, but always there's the chance of potential trade opportunities and things of that nature. But nonetheless, the Jets draft is in the books. And folks, I just got to say, I'm goddamn giddy. I am excited. I'm elated. This is phenomenal. Have you seen this all? Have you seen this draft class? I mean, sweet Caroline, this is amazing. Wow. This class is, I thought last year's class, I'm like, that's pretty good. It's pretty solid. But this year's class, oh my, it is fantastic. And we're going to be talking about it here with you guys on this live stream. Quick couple of shout outs here. We're streaming live in 3 different places right now on my Twitter account at BoyGreen25, on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/BoyGreen25, and of course on my Facebook page for my weekly Jets podcast, The Jet Zone. First off, make sure you guys are supporting the channel, specifically on YouTube. Even if you're watching right now on Twitter or Facebook, hop on over to YouTube, youtube.com/BoyGreen25. Make sure you like the video and hit the subscribe button. We just recently reached 1.5K. Unbelievable. And it's a thank you to each and every one of you fans out there. One more shout out. And then, of course, wherever you guys are watching, drop your questions, comments, celebrations, and your thoughts on this wonderful draft class, which, like I said, we're going to recap, we're going to talk about, we'll break down expectations, whatever you guys want. The world is your oyster here tonight as we pop the bubbly on the 2022 NFL draft class. A couple more shout outs. One of the new series I'll be doing is called Meet the Fleet. And what that will be is every single selection of the Jets draft class, which again, we're going to talk about here in a second. I'm going to bring on an insider from wherever the heck they came from to come on our show and give us details about their journey, their path, their ceiling, and so much more insight. We already have done one of those interviews during draft weekend. That was with Dan Hope, who covers the Ohio State football team, to learn more about Garrett Wilson. You guys can check out that video right now. And there's a special playlist. It's called Meet the Fleet for the 2022 draft class. And like I said, we'll be doing that for every single New York Jets draft pick. And then we'll even dive in for the undrafted free agents as well, which, by the way, is going to get underway here momentarily with the 2022 NFL draft. So, guys, I hope you enjoy the content. And I do want to say a huge and massive thank you. This is the biggest NFL draft offseason we've ever had, with the level of guests, with your participation, the subscribership that blew up. Again, we reached 1,000 subscribers somewhere there in March, and now we're already at 1.5K. So our crazy growth is a thanks to each and every one of you. Let's jump over to the comments first before we go any further here on the show. All right, let's see what's going on. We've got Matthias, hot dogs or burgers? I am a burger guy personally. I'm not a big hot dog guy, but I love burgers. Burgers is my guilty pleasure of choice, I would say. Matthias, that was the best draft. It certainly felt that way. And again, it wasn't even what I predicted, right? Because all of us have to have an opinion. We all have to say, oh, it's this player or that player. And I've been pretty obvious from the get-go that I'm a Kayvon Thibodeau guy. And of course, the Jets go in a different direction, Ahmad Sauce Gardner, and then Kayvon goes one pick later to the New York Giants. I just heard Joe Shane on ESPN talking about why they picked him and why they feel so confident, things of that nature. But you know what? The Jets don't just have to do what I want or what you want or what any other people want. That's what makes it so cool, and that's what makes it personally for me why this draft class is so special, that not every player I thought of before the draft saying, yeah, let's get that guy. They went different directions, and I still love the class, which, like I said, we'll talk about. So that draft class was incredible, and we'll go through it here in just a second. Let's go to JS, a.k.a. CBW. What's going on, baby? I'm pumped up, man. I'm normally full of energy and chutzpah. But boy, after that draft class and doing some work for Heavy on Jets a little earlier today, writing some articles about some of these prospects and coming off the solid Joe Douglas presser from earlier today, man, I'm fired up. I look at these prospects. I look at how improved this Jets team is, man. And boy, expectations are through the friggin' roof, and we're here in April, so we got many, many months to go of rookie minicamp, which, by the way, gets underway on Monday. Then you have the rest of the OTAs, the mandatory minicamp, the break, then the training camp, then the preseason, and boom, then the regular season. So I am excited, man. I'm fired up, and I hope all of you guys are too. This is amazing. JETS mess. Hey, Paul, what's popping, baby? Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Second wave on YouTube, not to mention might be some big name cuts before the season starts. I will bring this up. Joe Douglas did mention this during his post-draft presser. One of his final questions, Connor Hughes asked about the Morgan Moses situation. If you guys remember last year, at the end of May, actually, is when it actually came to fruition. Morgan Moses was released by the Washington football team, now the Commanders. And really the thing that changed for Washington is they drafted a guy that they felt pretty good about on the offensive line and said, you know what, all of a sudden, Morgan Moses is expendable. So then they cut him. So Joe Douglas in his presser mentioned how to Connor Hughes, who kind of asked, hey, wow, is another Morgan Moses situation? Are there free agents out there that you could pursue, that you could add to this team post-draft? And Joe Douglas said that him and his team comb through the depth charts across the league and identify players that may have cap situations where their guarantee number is a certain number, and thus that there is a chance they could either be traded for a low draft pick. We've seen that historically, or that player could get cut. So you could do some early homework on potentially adding that player to your team, and just the bounty of free agents that are sitting out there right now. And by the way, second wave, there's a couple I would like, including I made the pitch earlier today for Tyrann Mathieu, the Honey Badger. And I got to give credit to Joe Caparoso of the Badlands feed. He was the one who initially said it, which caused the article. Because let me just read the draft class to everybody as we're all in here. All in all here, the Jets had 7 picks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So 7, excuse me. They had 7 of these picks, 2 first-rounders, Ahmad Sauce Gardner out of Cincinnati, the cornerback, number 4 overall. At 10 overall, they had Garrett Wilson, wide receiver out of Ohio State. And they also had a 3rd first-rounder, obviously. There was Jermaine Johnson, the edge rusher out of Florida State, who they traded back into the first round to get. We have a lot of draft stories to talk about, too. In the ripple effects from this. Breece Hall, the running back out of Iowa State, they took him early in the 2nd round. Jeremy Ruckert, which was part of the 3rd rounder they got back from Tennessee. In that move up, they get him, the tight end out of Ohio State. Then a double dip in the 4th round. Max Mitchell, the Louisiana developmental offensive tackle. And then Michael Clemens, the defensive lineman from Texas A&M. So that is the class from pillar to post to A to Z. And one thing you will notice that is missing in that class is there wasn't a safety taken. Not one single one. And many would argue, many would say that is a big void on the roster. You have Jordan Whitehead at one spot, but the other spot is LaMarcus Joyner, who tore his triceps week 1, who played a handful of snaps before he was out for the year. I mean, excuse me if hardly I feel confident about that spot. I know you got some guys like Jason Pinnock, who they like. You have Elijah Riley, who they like. Will Parks is another guy that they brought back that, of course, they like. But at the end of the day, those are guys you feel great about. You feel okay. But at the end of the day, that's why I advocate, and Joe Caparosa did earlier, for the Honey Badger. Okay, you did your draft and you feel great about it. We'll be talking about all those key details here. But a missing piece to the puzzle would be a rock star safety, one that can create turnovers. That's something the Jets struggled with, obviously, last year. A guy that can bring some juice to the locker room, who's a proven playmaker on that side of the ball and can give you a little bit of personality. The Honey Badger, I would explore. Now, how much is he going to cost? That's unclear. The Spot Track market value had his contract projections north of $14 million per year on a multi-year deal. That, of course, was heading into free agency, and now we're heading to after the draft. So maybe that same money isn't available widespread around the league. That is unclear, but nonetheless, he's a guy that'd be at the top of my list to go, let's go get this guy. Let's just say YOLO, as the Jets did in the 2nd round with that Breece Hall pick, and do the same thing here. You know what? Let's just go all in and try to see what happens and roll the dice. So second wave, that is a great comment there from that perspective. All right, let's keep going here. Let's go to Matthias. A-plus draft. Where are all the Douglas haters at? Great question, Matthias, because I know there's a lot of JD haters out there. And you look at this draft class, man, okay? And you get your number one corner. Some people debated whether or not the corner was even a need because you invested $33 million into DJ Reed to be one of your corners. And then on the opposite side, you had some combination of Bryce Hall and Brandon Eccles, who both have starting experience. Or, of course, on the slide, you got Michael Carter II. But booyah, they say, screw that. Sauce is such a unique and special player that, boom, we're going to add him immediately to the mix. And now your top two corners are DJ Reed, who you love, Sauce Gardner, who you love, and Michael Carter II, the coaching staff's in love with. Booyah. Now you got the true number one corner that can follow around the top receiver potentially. Then you go to wide receiver, Garrett Wilson. You have a number one wideout now, along with Elijah Moore. Now Corey Davis is comfortably a number three. Phenomenal. He's even better in that role. So that's terrific. You get your edge rusher. That was a concern. Again, that's why you have to let the full canvas be painted. Okay, obviously. But I got to tell you, that when you went corner wide receiver first, we talked about this potential scenario of going in some different position and then edge rusher not being addressed in that top 10. Like, oh no, what could potentially happen there? Of course. And Jermaine starts slipping and sliding down the board. The Jets get aggressive. They move up. Joe Douglas revealed during draft weekend that as soon as he got to 15, they started making calls. But again, it takes two to tango in any potential trade. And they ended up getting Jermaine Johnson at 26, which obviously is unbelievable value. People projected him at number 4 overall to the Jets, and they ended up getting him at 26. That is just ridiculous. And then we go through the rest of the draft real quick. Again, Breece Hall, that's a YOLO pick, man. That's a just, you know what, we're going to just go score some points. And I respect the heck out of it. I didn't project it. I would have been fine with a Tyler Algier. Questions were asked to me, Paul, could you go with a Breece Hall? That specific question was asked before the draft. I'm like, you know what, we got Michael Carter. I'm okay. But the Jets weren't okay. Now Michael Carter, who you would have been comfortable with as your 1, is now your 2. Phenomenal. Nice Robin Batman action happening there. And Jeremy Ruckert at tight end. I mean, again, I don't want to blow the load here in terms of all these wonderful questions that are coming in. But the tight end position is one of my favorite things. That it was garbage, trash. I mean, trash, man. This was one of the worst, if not the worst, tight end unit in the entire NFL. I mean, it was garbage. Ryan Griffin, bleh. Tyler Kropp, next, please. I mean, Kenny Yeboah, who I like, but come on, there wasn't enough juice there. I mean, these tight ends sucked, man. It was just a couple of suck. And you want to know what the Jets did? They went, okay, let me get you one tight end, C.J. Uzomah, who I like a lot. I think he's got so much untapped potential, and only recently has been playing with a halfway decent quarterback in Joe Burrow. Before that was Andy Dalton. And then at other points, you had all these other guys like A.J. Green, Tyler Boyd. Like C.J. Uzomah was never the number one guy, and not necessarily he's going to be the quote-unquote number one guy here with all the weapons they have, but I think there's so much untapped potential there. Then you know what? How about a discount double check? Doing the old dip the nugget twice, which could be polarizing depending on how you eat your food. But I'm okay with it at the tight end position. Tyler Conklin. Okay, he's got some chutzpah, some receiving prowess. And then Joe Douglas goes, you know what? Screw safety. Screw interior defensive line. Screw some of these other needs. I'm going tight end again. And you want to know something? I don't give a flying hoot. Give me all the tight ends, baby. Jeremy Ruckert, and of course the touchy-feely story. Again, if you guys want to see it, it's on my Twitter account, @BoydGreen25. The phone call from Joe Douglas to Jeremy Ruckert saying, hey, man, you ready to make a dream come true? Because, of course, Jeremy and his father are longtime Jet fans, Long Island native, and ends up coming to the Jets. I mean, that's a phenomenal story. So I just love that they completely overhauled tight end. That makes me friggin' amazing. I mean, just over the top. It makes me feel great. So tight end looks great. I love that. And then on, day 3 of the draft, again, you needed some level of offensive tackle. Now, again, this is another one of those situations where I said the Jets need to do this, and they say, hey, Paul, shut up, pal. We don't have to listen to you, and they didn't. Remember I said that made a guarantee, as a matter of fact, on the NYJ Today Jets collab last week that, man, they guarantee need to take an offensive tackle within the first 2 rounds because you need insurance. You have no idea if Mekhi Becton is going to be able to come back healthy, and George Fant, all these other guys, like, you just got to have insurance. You got to protect Zach Wilson. And they said, well, screw you, Paul. And they gave a massive vote of confidence to Mekhi Becton, and obviously a vote of confidence to George Fant by waiting all the way to the 4th round to address the offensive tackle position when they brought in Max Mitchell out of Louisiana, who's a developmental tackle. Doesn't seem like he's a threat to either Becton or Fant in terms of starting competition, but you never know. Anything can happen. But he's got a lot of versatility at both tackle, guard, even has some center potential there as well, which is really nice. As kind of a swing option around the line. So you got to love that. And then this is the pick that obviously to the question, Matthias, that I think a lot of Jet fans kind of went, huh? They went Michael Clemens, who's a defensive lineman out of Texas A&M, with their final pick of this class. And first off, it's hard to be mad once you have all these other studs, and then the last pick, you're kind of like, what the? But doing some digging in on this is a guy that obviously has a bit of a rap sheet. He has a checkered past with some, a marijuana situation, illegal carrying of a firearm. There's a couple other questionable things in there that made you go, wow, the Jets don't normally bring in these kind of guys, but they believe in it. They brought him through the security team, draft day, kind of looking into their background, and they, quote unquote, felt comfortable is how they described it in the post-draft presser. So, again, you can never have enough pass rushers, so I guess that's how they feel. Remember, they did something similar with Jonathan Marshall last year. That one was in the 6th round as opposed to the 4th round. So they like having bodies, and he could be a practice squad candidate, could make the team outright, and you don't just like flushing 4th rounders down the toilet. So, again, we'll see. We'll see kind of how they kind of put all that together. But to me, it's an A-plus draft. I mean, look at this. They checked off everything off the bucket list. Really, the only things they didn't or safety, which was somewhat surprising. And then off-ball linebacker, which I told you there seems to be what the fans believe and what the team believes. Team thinks they're okay with Hamza and Jamie and those combination of guys. They think they're going to be fine. The fans are like, whoa, that's a need. So again, kind of speaks to a difference of opinion from that standpoint. But safety was the one that was surprising. But come on, baby, this was terrific. Absolutely great. Great question, Matthias. Let's go to JSCBW. Any guesses why Jermaine fell in the 1st round? This is a great question, and I've been digging on it all weekend because, while we all celebrated the pick, the Jets got a lot of rose petals thrown at their feet during the draft, and rightfully so, for finding a way to land this guy. Same to the Eagles, who got Nakobe Dean late, or the Dallas Cowboys who got Damon Clark. Everyone, there's a reason for everyone's slippage, especially with a primo position like edge rusher. And basically, from what I gathered, and this may not be the full picture, that the media, quote unquote, overrated Jermaine Johnson. They were concerned about the one-year wonder label. That was something personally I was concerned with. Everyone knows I wasn't the biggest Jermaine Johnson fan in the world, but I'll tell you this, that if, again, I wanted KT, and I'm not backing off that. I think KT is going to be a stud, and Giants, God bless. I think he's going to be great. And that, I'm kind of scared of him turning into Lawrence Taylor, but we'll figure that out at a different point. But in terms of this, if you would have told me before the draft, like, okay, you're not going to get KT, but you'll get Jermaine at 26, I'd be like, okay, that's pretty good value, because enough guys are talking about Connor Rogers, Leger Duzable, et cetera, of guys who, I respect in this business that think very highly of them. So, from that standpoint, Jermaine was pretty good. But in terms of falling in the 1st round, a couple of things. Like I said, the media overrating his ability. Number 2, again, the one-year wonder label at Florida State. He didn't get as much PT at Georgia. Now, some people said he then ran off to Florida State. Others would say, hey, he was smart to realize the situation, went to Florida State to get that PT. And, of course, you got to always watch out for those off-season rises. Remember, entering this process in the very early portions, he was considered a top 25 pick, top 20 pick. And then through the Senior Bowl and everything else, all of a sudden he shot up into the top 5. And then the Jordan Renan of ESPN said, top 10 lock. He's going to probably go in the top 5. And then he ultimately goes where a lot of people thought he would anyway. So was it actually a fall, or was it kind of a media construed fall? I think that's another question to go up. But as I said, I'm going to be doing a lot of interviews with people over the coming weeks. And especially this week, I got a couple of big interviews set up. One of them that I'm trying to get, I won't name drop it until it's locked in, but I'm working on some things behind the scenes on asking people in the know that question for the show. So guys, stay tuned for that this week. Second wave, it seemed like the teams were handing us an early Christmas. It felt that way in a lot of different respects. Like, for instance, Garrett Wilson. I'll start off with that one. I thought for sure he was going at 8. And it's funny, they kind of mentioned this in the movie Draft Day. Again, some people don't like the movie. I love the movie. they talked about how, like, Bo Callahan, when they traded up for him, initially they thought there was no way he was going to get to him. I get it's a movie, but there's no way they were going to get to him. So they didn't do the proper homework on him. Probably like the Jets with Sam Darnold in that 2018 year, where they said to themselves, well, he's never going to be there. So let's spend our valuable time on other prospects. So that was a little bit it for me on the Garrett Wilson conversation. I thought there was no way they were going to get him. So I'm going to be honest. Maybe that's part of the reason I was down on Garrett Wilson is I just always thought he was never going to be there. So why just, sing the praises of a player who'll be gone before us? So, and I learned a lot more about him in the Dan Hope interview, which I said is on my channel. And wow, this Garrett kid with a basketball background and everything. And he's got, again, cut from the right jib. It seems like there's a lot to like there. So that was a surprise to me. Talk about early Christmas gift. And I'll share this nugget, guys, because I try to absorb as much information as possible, watch all the interviews, the press conferences, cut all that up for my Twitter account. Robert Saleh spoke to Gene Coakley of SNY, and at the end of the interview, at the end of his conversation with her, he just randomly brought this up. I'm sure Joe Douglas won't be happy about it, about just kind of towing a truth bomb. But he said that if the Falcons don't go Drake London and they take Garrett Wilson at 8, the Jets basically just reveals the Jets would have taken Jermaine Johnson at 10. And I was like, whoa, what? They would have done who now? Now, again, they were high on him, so maybe that's not the surprising part, but they basically would have passed on Drake London for Jermaine Johnson, which, again, goes to show you what would that draft have looked like. So, you go 4, Sauce Gardner, 10, you would have gone Jermaine Johnson if it would have flipped. And, again, I thought the Falcons were going to go Garrett Wilson. Then when do you get your wide receiver? Do you ever get your wide receiver? Because, again, there was that run. 10 was Garrett Wilson, 11 was Chris Olave, 12 was Jameson Williams, and by the time you would have tried to get up, all the receivers would have been gone. So again, it shows you how slim that margin is of things happening. So a cool story. I don't know if Saleh was allowed to leak and he leaked it by accident, but basically he said if Garrett Wilson would have went 8, we would have went Jermaine Johnson at 10. And like I said, God knows if you would have ever gotten your receiver. So it's that close of a margin for sure. Again, wherever you guys are watching, make sure you like the video. And even if you're not watching on YouTube, open up the YouTube tab. We're trying to promote the brand, and it's been fantastic. So like the video, hit subscribe down below, and wherever you're watching, drop a question or a comment. Here on the show, we're trying to celebrate, baby. We're trying to pop, lock, and drop here on the show. And that'd be great. Whoa, now we just got a super chat, which, by the way, I will just throw this out there to the universe. That's what this is. This super chat you see below where it's a different color. You can support the channel. You can either send an emoji or send a question and super chat. Give a tip to the channel so it helps us support to get new guests and other things on the show. So if you have the extra funds, feel free to support the channel. It means the world. And thank you so much. And a big support of this channel has been NY2FLA Jets fan who sends in this super chat. So thank you so much, pal. That's amazing. In JD, I trust. What I love is we have depth in almost all areas. We know we're going to get the injury curse because we always do, but I feel great at our depth now. Go Jets, and great job, Boy Green, throughout this whole process. NY2FLA, again, thank you so much. Thank you for your continued support on this channel. It's awesome. We did some great collabs. Like I said, Jets Today, Green Bean. I was on their channel. Jets Talk 24/7, the Jets panel, which was an absolute honor to be on for the first time. So that was really cool. And like I said, this offseason has been terrific. I mean, it's just been spectacular of the guests we were able to get on the show, the support for the channel that it's grew, and just kind of everything together. But to kind of speak on a couple of your points, that's what feels so great about me. For instance, let's go to the Breece Hall pick. I will tell you this. I thought different. And every interview I did, I went on WGR 550. I went on ESPN Utah. And I feel bad for those bastards because I did a whole sell job on Tyler Algier. Oh, man, Jets love Tyler Algier. I love Tyler Algier. Tyler Algier. And then on day 2, they took Breece Hall immediately, killing those dreams. So I'm sorry. I think he went to Atlanta. So shout out to Tyler Algier. Sorry, Utah fans and the ESPN Utah fans out there. I apologize. But nonetheless, like for instance, I felt comfortable with the depth knowing that Michael Carter was there. But to your point, NY2FLA, to your point, if Michael Carter goes down, then you've got nothing. This is prior to the Breece Hall pick. You got 0. You got Tevin Coleman, Ty Johnson. I mean, that doesn't inspire any confidence. No offense to those, or Michael P. Ryan. I mean, come on, man. Austin Walter. Like, it just doesn't do it for me. So that's what the Jets saw. They said, screw it. We're going to have a beautiful 1-2 combination. Thomas Jones and Sean Green, LaDainian Tomlinson, Sean Green, this combination of running backs that can hurt you in so many ways. And they're both so versatile. They can both run the ball, catch the ball out of the backfield, and as Joe Douglas described Breece Hall, a home run hitter. So again, the depth is incredible. You got depth at running back. You got depth at tight end. You got depth at receiver. So if an injury does happen, and it probably always happens, hopefully we have one year where injuries don't happen. And let's see kind of how that year turns in. But all the depth, even if an injury happens, you feel great at running back, wide receiver, tight end. It's terrific. It's fantastic. And I couldn't agree more. So great. Thank you so much for the super chat, buddy. You're the goddamn best in the business, and I love it. Let's just try to jump back here randomly in the comments. Darren Tewksbury, best Jets draft ever, in my opinion. Again, you need 3 years to properly evaluate a class, of course. Because that's how Joe Douglas described it in the general NFL sense, drives it. But in terms of POM, prisoner of the moment, it's hard not to know a better draft than what just happened. Again, elite playmakers at every level, from Sauce at corner. I'm just elated with Sauce. I love Sauce to play. I mean, how can you not? The personality, the swag, the stats, the analytics, the athletic testing numbers. Again, he checks off every box. So how could you possibly be upset about that pick? But I just didn't see it coming. So that's just a pleasant surprise. The Garrett Wilson, we all thought in some sense it would probably go wide receiver at 10. So that's not surprising. But again, what he brings to the table is unbelievable. And to have 3 first-rounders, this is historic, people. This is only the second time in Jets franchise history that they've had 3 or more first-round picks in a single class. They, of course, ended up with 3, but they almost had 4. Another draft nugget. Breece Hall joined NFL Network for an interview. And again, initially, Breece Hall's at a hotel, right? So he's at a local Las Vegas hotel watching a draft. He gets drafted. He gets a call on day 2. Jets trade up in the second round to get him. And then he comes over to the draft, takes a picture, blah, 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 and goes through all that stuff. And during his interview, he says, hey, the Jets were trying to trade up for me in the first round, but it just didn't happen. So the Jets were this close to having 4 first-round picks, which would have tied, of course, the famous 2000 NFL draft where you had Sean Ellis, John Abraham, Chad Pennington, Anthony Becht, and that class was terrific. Remember, Lavernius Coles was a 3rd rounder in that class. I mean, now that is a phenomenal class, and you can only hope to have half the success that group had in terms of NFL long-term success. Look at what all those players ended up turning into. So if you can have something like that, I mean, this is a foundational draft. We knew it was a foundational haul of picks, but boy, Joe Douglas looks like he cashed in on some of that action. Let's go to LT here. Someone called the police. Joe Douglas just murdered the draft. You're damn right he did. I mean, it is robbery. How does this man get away with this? And so much movement up and down the board. I mean, that was phenomenal. I just love, again, because and he's talked about this, about being aggressive and then reckless. You just got to be selectively aggressive. And they were, remember. And it's kind of funny how things work out, right? They were trying to move up as high as 15. And if they would have moved up to 15, by the way, that would have cost them both second rounders or more, quite frankly. And then they didn't end up getting Jermaine till 26. So by virtue, they kind of got lucky and ended up getting the players they wanted anyway, right? So they got Jermaine at good value. They got Breece Hall at good value. They threw away another 5th rounder, which just ended their draft early. Quality over quantity. And he did just murder the draft. What a phenomenal haul. Phenomenal. It's Snoopy joining us. Hall, Wilson, Sauce, all blue chip, epic draft. And no matter how you slice it. So Joe Douglas believes with their top 3, Jermaine in that as well as a blue chipper, is that you name all those guys, and that, for Joe Douglas, they had 3 of the guys in their top 8, which is unbelievable to land that kind of haul. I think Mel Kiper said 4 of his top 11 or something. So unbelievable haul. No matter what draft person you talk to, regardless of how high or low they are in certain prospects. I mean, wow, just unbelievable. Phenomenal, guys. This is great. And also another shout out again, super chat it up, baby, on YouTube. You can skip the line here. I try to answer all your comments because you guys are my crew. You're my familia, my ohana. So I want to answer all your comments if I can. And again, this is a celebration, people. I've got water here, but you know what? Whatever you're drinking, wherever you're watching, pop it open just like that with a button, and let's drink to this draft because wow, what a class! Cheers, everybody. And I got water. Maybe you have something more fun or festive at home, but let's enjoy that one for a second. Hydration's important. There you go. Water. Yeah. And some Mountain Dew. I've had a lot of that over the weekend. So let's mix it up. But all blue chippers. Yes, sir. Johnny G, what are your thoughts on our 2 fourth rounders? We talked about them a little bit earlier, but again, Max Mitchell, I thought offensive tackle depth was critically important. I thought it was more important, obviously, than the Jets did. I said I would have done it in one of the first 2 rounds, 4 picks in the top 38. Ultimately, they do a little bit of wiggle room. They still end up with their 4 picks in the top 38. They just move a little bit of the pieces around. So you get their guy in Max Mitchell. This is a guy that's got a lot of versatility. He's a Senior Bowl guy. He wasn't coached by the Jets. He was actually on the Lions Senior Bowl roster, but they got an up close and personal look. And even though technically they're on different teams, they weren't coached necessarily by the Jets, there was an opportunity to really get to know this guy. And again, he will be a developmental tackle. This is a guy that is very interesting. He brings incredible size coming out of Louisiana. He's 6'6", 307 pounds. And like I said, he is a really, really good run blocker, and he's just got a little bit of everything to his game. But the point is I don't think, not to blow it up too much. Again, he's just a nice selection, not an A+, not crazy. Okay, it's not like it was, a first rounder fell to the 4th round. But he gives you nice depth. He also gives you some versatility. I like swing tackles. I could do a lot of different things. So depending on where an injury could or possibly be, you could kind of move him all over the line. So he brings a size, obviously, to the table, positional versatility, familiarity from the Senior Bowl. So he checks off a lot of boxes from that standpoint. And the other 4th rounder, Michael Clemens, again, another defensive lineman. You would think that the Jets would have already had enough of those, quite frankly. But, one of the things they said that jumped out to me about both players, Joe Douglas said toughness was the thing that stood out about both of these 4th rounders. But another thing is Joe Douglas called Michael Clemens, a new pass rusher from Texas A&M, one of the nastier players in this class. And something I've picked up this offseason from conversations with people inside the building, outside the building, publicly, and everything else is the Jets had a mentality. They had an objective. They had a mission to get nasty this offseason. They wanted to bring some juice to the locker room. Laken Tomlinson's a great example. He brings an intensity to the game that Joe Douglas and the team believed would be infectious to the rest of the offensive line. They want more guys having that killer instinct. Bringing a guy like this over in Michael Clemens is another guy they believe can bring that same level of nasty to the rest of the defensive line group. Obviously, it's a very competitive group. There's a ton of talent here, and it's hard to foresee how he makes the roster no matter what combination of things you do. But again, we'll worry about that, obviously, at a different point. But that's the big thing for me that stands out is this is a guy who brings a level of nasty. Now, of course, as we mentioned earlier, there is some off-the-field concerns with a variety of incidents. The marijuana use, which, again, you can, having that on him, we're all kind of changing as a society with marijuana, so take that for what you will. Everyone has different opinions on that. But the bigger deal, obviously, is the gun charge, and that one is a little concerning. But according to the Jet security team, they did a full, kind of a full venting of this process, and they feel comfortable with him. So if they do, obviously he's got a lot of talent. The talent is undeniable. So those are kind of some general thoughts on the 4th rounders. I would have probably, like I mentioned on Twitter, Brandon Smith, the linebacker to Penn State, would have made a lot of sense. But obviously the Jets feel pretty good about their linebacking group. So that's how they feel. Let's go to Jet Orange. Jets don't have a great deal of cap flexibility, $14 million to pay for draft picks. That is an excellent point. When you have this many high picks in the draft, you got to pay that number. You got to pay that green. And they're all rookie slotted due to the CBA. So that's a good point. So for some of the free agency moves I want them to make, you'd have to get a little bit creative. Like I said, what is Honey Badger looking for? Is he just looking to be desired? That's one of the things that stood out to me. He did an interview in New Orleans coming off his Saints visit. And, obviously the Chiefs going in a different direction, bringing in a new safety for the Texans, Reed. But it seemed like Honey Badger wants to feel wanted. And of course, he wants to win. Obviously, he's already won a Super Bowl. But to me, that's one thing in particular to this question that maybe he could get creative with the deal to bring him in. He's wanted to play New York before. The Jets have pursued him several times in his past free agency tours. So that would be very interesting to me. But yes, that is a good point that you do have to get a little bit creative there. But remember, the Jets were this close to getting A.J. Brown, Deebo Samuel, and all these other guys, by the way. So they had the opportunity to make the cap work, so they could make it work for another free agent. And by the way, that's another story that came out over the weekend, real quick, just kind of throwing this out there in the middle of the draft conversation. And again, wherever you're watching, guys, throwing your questions, comments, celebrations, whatever, we'll get you on the show here. And this has been a lot of fun so far. But the Deebo Samuel package was revealed by a 49ers writer from The Athletic. Essentially, the Jets offered the number 10 overall pick, a fifth rounder in this year's class, in exchange for Deebo Samuel and the 49ers second round choice, which was their first pick in this class, 61 overall. And apparently the 49ers were, quote unquote, insulted by that offer. They deemed it weak, was the words used by this 49ers writer. And that seems about right. So the 10th overall pick apparently was offered for Deebo Samuel. Now, it came with some other things attached, but they said no. And ultimately, as much as I wanted Deebo, and you know that if you've listened to any of these shows, the great news for Jet fans is no matter what happened, you were good. No matter what. Because if you got Deebo, obviously that's exciting. You just got one of the best offensive playmakers in the NFL. But if you didn't, all right, we'll draft a guy. We did. Garrett Wilson, young guy that you feel really excited about. So it was a win-win, as they say. Dark Soldier, woo! Welcome to the show, baby. Welcome to the show. Appreciate you. Let's keep diving through the comments here. We got James D. Pietro. If we stay healthy this year, I see at least 9 wins. Ground and pound again with elite receivers spreading the field. Trust in JD. Go Jets. You bet your sweet cheeks. I mean, you look at this and you say, where's the weakness on the team? I mean, the offensive line is fantastic. There's no other way to put it. I mean, as long as everyone stays healthy, and that's always a dangerous thing to assume. You look at the tackle, the 2-tackle tandem, you feel good. The guard combination is fantastic. And Connor McGovern is just very solid. I think he's going to play even better with really great guards around them. So that feels good. Running back, you feel great. Breece Hall, bell cow guy. You also have Michael Carter. Wide receivers, terrific. You're 4 deep at a minimum with Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, Braxton, and Berrios. Plus, if Denzel Mims becomes anything, I mean, obviously with those guys, he doesn't have to be, but if he becomes anything, you feel great. So wide receiver feels good. Tight end, we talked about that earlier. Uzama, Conklin, Rucker, phenomenal. And that's your team. Now, of course, it all falls on Zach Wilson. We've said this before. And by the way, what a Connor Hughes quote. Look to my Twitter, guys. I know I got a lot of crap out there. But Connor Hughes drinking the Kool-Aid saying this Jets offense with Zach Wilson, if he's just an average quarterback, has a chance to be one of the best in the NFL? What? I mean, huh? And by the way, I just said, you know what, man, when's the last time the Jets had a number 1 offense? Well, as we were digging through, I got all the way back to 2004 and still didn't find anything. Even the 2015 year, that was great, and a couple of spot years that were really good. I mean, the Jets, since the ESPN advanced metric data, since 2004, I have not found the number 1 offense yet. I mean, quite frankly, they've been more bad than they've been good. 2 of the last 3 years, they finished dead last in offense. So a possibility, a dream of dreams to potentially be a top flight offense, scoring points left and right. I don't even know what to do with myself, James. So it's unbelievable and great from Connor there. And by the way, on the Connor quote, and again, you can read the full thing, check out the full thing on my Twitter. He isn't even saying Zach Wilson has to make a Patrick Mahomes-like leap, right? You know, they could be the best offense in the world if he makes a Patrick Mahomes leap. Yeah, of course. Duh. Anyone could. But no, he's just saying if he's an average quarterback, because of the overwhelming amount of talent that would be around him, that all he has to do is be good, okay, an average starting quarterback, and they can be really great. And by the way, I agree. So yeah, baby, back to the playoffs. 2-2. Let's go. We should be pumped up, baby. I love it. Let's keep going here. Joseph Patterson. As much as I love Carter, you can't be comfortable with him alone. I'm glad JD didn't listen to the content creators. We'd be effed. That's probably true. I did mention this from the Carter standpoint, is that, again, you have to add someone. I was more comfortable with it on day 3 because, you know, I really like Michael Carter, and he kind of changed the dynamic for me. But again, doing the YOLO pick and kind of it actually happening and bringing in Breece Hall and just getting more playmakers, I mean, what would be more important? Just another linebacker or a game-changing running back, and that's exactly what happened. So unbelievable. So don't worry, they didn't listen to us content creators. So smart move by them. But no, I love the Brees Hall. Again, I didn't want it at first because I thought you could go in different directions. But now that we have it, I mean, terrific. Fantastic. And we'll be learning more about him. I'm setting up an Iowa State interview for later this week. So we'll see if we can get that one on the docket. Dark Soldier here. Snoopy said JD will be fired in less than 2 years because we didn't get Amari Cooper. Snoopy said that? I mean, good Lord. I mean, I was upset. Obviously, we had a video about it, about not getting Amari. And I didn't know how many receivers ultimately were going to be available the way they were. But again, it just seemed like Amari. And again, I am somewhat biased. My dad's a diehard Cowboys fan. So I've been seeing every Cowboys game for like the last 20 years that isn't at the same time as the Jets. But like I said, I just thought he was a smooth route runner, not really a diva, despite some of the things that were coming out last year. He's just a shut up and do it kind of guy, not a real big, hey, look at me kind of guy, even though I like those players. So, yeah, I was upset. But ultimately, I think they did a pretty good job of rounding it out with Garrett Wilson. Again, they had the adjustment. They offered the 10th pick for Debo and some other things. They didn't take it. They went, all right, fine, we'll just take a receiver. And they did. So the Debo dream is now dead. Max Mitchell had one of the highest PFF scores of any of the offensive linemen. I didn't even know that, LT. So phenomenal. Great. I love it. And I think he's got a lot of potential. And obviously the Senior Bowl connection makes all that even more possible. Let's go second wave, Wilson to Wilson, baby. I'll have to pull the clip because we had a lot of great. If you've joined the channel, if you're old to the channel, feel free to subscribe, by the way. Hit the like button on YouTube. We're here on youtube.com/boygreed25. We had some amazing guests, and most of you that have been here in the past already know about it. We had Jordan Reed, ESPN NFL draft analyst, on, along with a bunch of other wonderful guests this offseason. And he was one of the first ones I remember keep pounding the Wilson to Wilson connection. But again, I somewhat disregarded it because I thought there's no way he's there. So, that's just wasted noise. But he was. So shout out to him. So Wilson, baby. Can you imagine that first touchdown? Oh, man, I'm going to lose my crap. That's going to be phenomenal. Jeff Seawald, watch Jets sign Honey Badger now. If they do, I'm going to do an unbelievable celebration. I love Honey Badger, the player. I was advocating for it in straight up free agency, let alone now after the draft. But I would love someone else added again. Some of the other players are nice. Like Elijah Mitchell was a great story. Elijah Mitchell. Oh my God, Elijah. The name's escaping me now. It's Elijah Mitchell's a 49ers running back. Elijah Riley, excuse me. Yes, Elijah Riley, a great story, but again had a serious injury at the end of the season. A very scary injury. Jason Pinnock made the conversion. He's okay. Will Parks actually showed a lot of pop at the end of the year. I wonder how sustainable that is. He seems like a great guy and really interacting with Jet fans on Twitter, which is cool. So we'll see. Maybe they surprise. Maybe they don't need Honey Badger, but I would certainly pursue it. Jonathan Strong here. Go Jets. North Carolina in the house. Ho, 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 ho. I love it, baby. Michael Carter represents. I like it. All the UNC love. I won't bring up Quentin Copels, but thanks for Michael Carter, though. Jeff Seawald, also having draft in early for us gives Jody a lot of time to lay foundation for priority UDFAs. Jeff, we're on the same page, baby. I said it to myself. I didn't have a live stream going during the draft. I was doing some other things with the draft. But I got to tell you, that's the first thing I said when the draft got over and Jody and Robert Saleh came down from the front office to do the draft or do the draft presser. The first thing I said is, wow, now they got like 3 rounds to set the entire board and have all their phone calls ready. And hell, I mean, I guess you can, since you don't have any picks, you could have probably made those calls preset ahead of time and said, hey, if you shake free, and based on their scouting sources and things of that nature, you'll have a great head start. So we'll see that coming out here as well. And my buddy Michael Obermoller from Heavy on Jets, he will have a running tracker on Heavy on Jets. I am, of course, a New York Jets digital reporter for Heavy.com. I write articles and things of that nature. We'll have a tracker up on Heavy on Jets. You can find that on Facebook, or, of course, just search Heavy.com in the Jets section. So we'll have a tracker on that that should be up here soon. Let's see. Da-da-ba-ba. And apparently not LT. Whoops. Let me throw this comment up. I don't think the Jets, this is LT, I don't think the Jets are as high on Drake London as some were saying. It doesn't appear that way. As I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, like I said, as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, Robert Saleh did an interview with Gene Coakley, who Connor Hughes just retweeted, by the way. Very nice. That basically Robert Saleh told Gene Coakley at the end of this interview that if If the Falcons would have taken Garrett Wilson at 8, then they would have went Jermaine Johnson at 10 instead of Drake London, because Drake London wouldn't have gone 9 to Seattle, so they would have went Jermaine Johnson basically over the receiver, which is fascinating. So apparently not. A lot of all the source people that I was talking to said, "Oh yeah, the Jets love Drake London." And I could see why if you looked at the receiving corps, but apparently not. Apparently not, which, like I said, I find very interesting. George Foster, you the man, Boy Green. Appreciate that, brother, and appreciate all the support from all of you. This is cool. We got over 100 people in here right now. So again, I can't see the YouTube right now, but make sure there's at least 100 likes in here. There's 100 of you in here. Come on, baby. It just takes a boop. Hit the thumbs up and also hit subscribe if you're not already. Starting off this stream, we're at 1.5K subscribers. So let's get that up, baby. Let's pop it up. Let's juice it up. And let's get this thing rocking and rolling. And, of course, if you're on YouTube as well, make sure you send over a super chat. Cut the line of comments here. Send a tip. Support the channel. So make sure you guys do that if you have the means. Really appreciate it. The Lord PT69. We're going to sign Quan Alexander. I think that's why we didn't draft one. We still have a UDFA too. That could be possible. Remember, they signed Marcel Harris, the former 49ers quasi-safety linebacker. He'll play some linebacker as well. I love the Quan Alexander signing, and I think it's low risk, high reward. So I'd be all for that, and that could be very possible. The Lord, appreciate you, and blessed be he. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your blessing. Let's go to James Day Pietro. Chris Sims' number one time in the draft was the Long Island's own Jeremy Ruckert. I saw that. And also Felder from Bleach Report, who did, and shout out to Connor Rogers, what a wonderful live stream that they did, is that Felder, one of the co-hosts, there was Adam Lefko on the first two nights, Adam Lefko, Connor Rogers, and Felder. And Felder said after the Jets drafted Jeremy Ruckert, he said, there were some people who had him as a first-round prospect, and I went, first-round prospect, Jeremy Ruckert? Not again, I love Jeremy, and it's cool. The story's great. Long Island's own, a Jet fan, and the touchy-feely call was magical and all that stuff. That was really cool, but when he said that, I was like, first rounder? Who? Like, a first rounder didn't even go. And apparently the size and everything heading into, the process, they thought, a lot of untapped potential there, which seems true from Ohio State side of things. Again, we have that Ohio State interview, my Meet the Fleet series, where I'm interviewing people from wherever every Jets prospect came from. So we have the Jeremy Ruckert interview. I believe that's scheduled for tomorrow afternoon. So stay tuned for my YouTube channel for that. It's a playlist. It's called Meet the Fleet. We'll be introducing you guys and letting you know more about and get to know more about all the prospects the Jets drafted. So we're going to hear more about Jeremy Ruckert and a lot of untapped potential there. Ohio State never used him in that way. So apparently the Jets felt similarly. But I saw that with Chris Sims. Bold. I like it. It seemed like the consensus was Trey McBride, but I like the different takes. Steve Wilds here. Let's face it, it's a death sentence to be drafted by the Jets. Oh, Steve, come on, man. We're trying to have a party in here. We're trying to celebrate. We're trying to pop the bubbly in here. You're bringing all this negative energy, man. Come on. These are not the same old Jets. Not the same old Jets. Matthias, thank goodness they don't listen to the internet madness. Joe Douglas, great job. Brees will be a Jet fan favorite. There's no question about it. I think he 100% will be. I've heard some of his commentary. Again, we're going to all learn more about him as they continue to do interviews. He did an initial Zoom meet with the media, and then there will be in-person stuff too as well. I think so. I like the confidence. He's another guy that's got swagger just like Sauce, and he says, I'm a top 2 running back in this class, and I'm not number 2. I love that. That's to me, I love players that are confident in themselves. So I love that. And look at James saying exactly what I just said. Not anymore, bro. We're not the same old Jets. I don't think so. Sean Bennett jumping in. Brees is a baller. His YAC, yards after contact, is crazy. He looks like a freak, man. And I've just seen all these wow plays, these blockbuster plays where he's grab it and booyah. And I think Saleh described it well in the, I think it was the day 2 presser where he said, he's one of those guys that could take it 80 yards to the house. And instead of the methodical 10-play drives, getting one of those every once in a while will be nice. No question about it. That would certainly be well received. Ragnar Jet. Wow, not many picks left in the draft, and no one has picked up Donovan West, who SI has as the number 3 center. Also, Alec Lindstrom, number 4, also their UNFA. It may be better than McGovern. I doubt, to be candid, Ragnar, who, by the way, I got to give a shout out to Ragnar, who sends me stuff all the time on Twitter, little clips and things of, hey, Boy Green, here's your juicy nuggets for Twitter. So I want to give a shout out on air for Ragnar, who always sends me great stuff for some of my tweet fodder. Really appreciate that. I'll be candid. I would be stunned if somehow the Jets moved on from Connor McGovern for what would amount to be a late round or priority free agent. That would be stunning. Because if they would have moved on for something like that, they would have moved on already. The fact that they haven't suggests otherwise. But I do think they could add some competition. Certainly, any one of those guys could be in the conversation, but I don't think they'd straight up move on, even if you believe, quote unquote, that it's better than McGovern. But I like the thought. Harold H on YouTube. Offensive starters are complete. Add some depth at wide receiver and O-line. I see a top 12 offense this season. If Zach is really good, we could be a top 10. Defense needs a vet linebacker like Quan Alexander to compete with Quincy. A couple of things here. First off, again, just saying that a top 12 or top 10 offense could be possible is just friggin' bonkers, man. I don't know what that looks like. I don't even know. Like, what am I doing when, like, opening, like, for a lot of us Jet fans, and I'm kind of speaking generally here, when seasons start and they go 3-0, you're like, boy, here we go, right? Or like, and then another team jumps on you real quick. Like, that happens all the time for the Jets, especially over the last couple of years. But, like, to have an offense is just like, man, we need to get the ball back in the offense hands so they can score points. Like, my brain can't rack around that. Depth at wide receiver would be nice. I'd like, a Keelan Cole. I've been speaking about that a couple of weeks. Offensive line, I'd like some more juice there, too, potentially. And maybe some work in the undrafted free agent market. Quan Alexander would make a lot of sense. There's scheme familiarity there. Another guy who, again, has a pass that you have to be okay with is Reuben Foster, who the Jets worked out last year. He's working out with Carl Lawson down there in Florida, so he could be an option as well. Matthias, love the Ruckert pick. Also, this kid is underrated. Another great value pick. Yeah, I think I think Joe Douglas described it well in the post-draft presser. He's just a kid who's willing to do the dirty work, a guy that obviously he is, because look at him at Ohio State. He constantly was playing second and third fiddle, and he did that for the team. So I think it's a great pick. And again, there are some people that, like, for instance, as we led up to the draft process, there were some Jet fans that said, I don't want a top offensive lineman. We've taken enough of those. And again, I bring up that prior to Joe Douglas arriving, there was 14 years of no offensive lineman in the first round. I'm never going to complain until when I'm complaining about an offensive lineman in first round every year, it's like when it's 5 years in a row. And by the way, it was snapped this year. Like tight end, the same thing. Like some people go, they don't need a tight end. Well, I don't care, man. For years, we've had crap at tight end. So if you want to draft and add 1 million tight ends, that is fine with Paul. So I will not be one to complain about that. Stevie Steve, JD is so good. He would have taken Marion over O'Brien and Sapp over Kyle Brady. Yeah, well, I don't know if we even needed those guys. I mean, I'm assuming you're saying Marino over O'Brien and Sapp over Kyle Brady. I'll say this. I think any of us, quite frankly, could have made those picks. And Ken O'Brien gets disrespected a lot. I mean, he had a really solid career, just that he was passed for Dan Marino. So, yeah. So let's put some respect on old Ken O'Brien if we can. Let's see. Harold H. We could get D West as a UDFA. That'd be a solid pickup. Yeah, we're going to fully dive in. We'll probably have to do another show this week once they're all kind of settled. Last year, they got a lot of good guys. They've actually a nice history. Javelin Guidry, undrafted free agent. Bryce Huff, undrafted free agent. I'm trying to think of a Javelin. So Javelin Guidry. Who else am I missing? I'm missing someone pretty big. But yeah, there's a bunch of them. Isaiah Dunn's another one. So you had Isaiah Dunn, Bryce Huff. You've had Javelin Guidry. You've had some good UDFAs come in and not only make the roster, but have some nice contributions. So they should be very much in that conversation, I think. Let's see. Pete Detraug, hey, here on the show. JD will be very active with UDFAs, trying to find the diamonds in the rough. We'll see several players coming to Jets camp this offseason. Kenny Yeboah is another one off the top of my head, was another undrafted free agent who was, who we bring up here on the show. So that's very interesting too. And again, guys, make sure you're liking the video. I see we got 130 people in here. That's amazing. I love the support. That's really cool. So show your comments and everything down here below as we celebrate the Jets draft, which they absolutely killed. Let's keep going here. Quentin Copels, LOL. Oh, boy. Yeah, the Quentin Copels days. I thought, too, when Rex Ryan drafted him, and remember, in that draft, they wanted Bruce Irvin, apparently, as we found out he went one pick before to the Seattle Seahawks, who, by the way, Robert Saleh brought up in the because the Jets seem to be universally getting praise. We're obviously doing a lot of praising right now on the show, but Rich Samini brought it up to Robert Saleh, like, "Wow, you guys are getting universally praised. How does that feel?" And Robert Saleh kind of went, "Well, I'm going to be honest. I don't care about any of that because back in that draft I just brought up, the Seahawks, with their first 3 picks, took Bruce Irvin 15th overall, who, by the way, draft people killed him for. Bruce Irvin was thought of as a 3rd or 4th round pick. They got Bobby Wagner and then Russell Wilson. Those were the first 3 picks. Robert Saleh says he remembers them getting a D grade. And of course, you have 2 Hall of Famers there, and Bruce Irvin, who had a long NFL career. So again, he says it's what you people grade in the media, A plus, D plus, C plus, F plus, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter because we have to develop. We've got to train. We've got to take whatever good players we think we get. We got to take them to the next level, or bad players, or however you see it. So that's funny on the Quentin Copels today. Let's go back to Pete. London is overrated. So glad we didn't draft him. Show slow on game film, not take the top off the defense type of receiver. No, he's not. So if that's what you wanted out of the receiving core, he was overrated from that standpoint. And we didn't draft him. The Falcons did. We'll see if the Falcons regret that. Again, I thought Garrett Wilson was 100% going 8, so I am somewhat surprised. I was a Drake London fan. I just thought he would have brought a level of physicality and nasty, like I said, seemed to be the theme of the offseason as they brought him in. So I'm okay. I'm fine with Garrett Wilson, obviously, but I was pretty high on Drake London. I really liked him. But if those were the things you're looking for from the wide receiver standpoint, I'm not surprised if you didn't like him. All right, let's go through a couple of these comments here as we're kind of putting a bow on this puppy. The Jets. Jet Fighter 666 was thinking 5-7 with our brutal schedule. Now thinking second place. Bills, Jets, Pats, Finns. 1 game separating each slot. 12-11, 10-9 wins. AFC East. Zach becoming the franchise. Yeah, prior to the draft, I will say I was probably 6-7 wins, something like that. Again, the schedule's brutal, but again, okay. Like, it's like all the Jet fans are saying, someone asked me, like, what's the Jets prediction prior to the draft? And I threw out that thing, right? 6-7 wins. And I'm like, if Zach Wilson has a solid year, I think Nate Geary of WGR said, what if Zach Wilson has a solid season? What are the Jets? I'm like, if it's a solid season, I could see the Jets being kind of in the wild card conversation, 7, 8, 9 wins, being in the hunt, so to speak. And I got a lot of clapback from Bills fans who said, what are you dreaming? Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, all these guys. Again, here's how I look at it. I think it's a loser's mentality. Just say, I take our ball and go home. Guess it's not going to happen. Not for me. You don't know. Injuries happen. Zach Wilson could become a superstar. I got no idea. He could be terrible. I don't know what's going to happen. But, if he's any of those things, whether great or bad, it'll because he's got a great supporting cast around him. So if he's bad, it's on him. If he's great, it's because, he stepped up and he's got the talent around him. So I think right now, and again, I am over the moon right now. I think they could very much be in that conversation. The Pats regressed. They took like a 4th round guard in the 1st round. Then they took like 1 million running backs. Like, what the hell? I have no idea what the Patriots are doing. And I think the Dolphins, to be honest, like, you can have Tyreek Hill all you want, but if you can't hit water, if you fell out of a boat, it's not going to matter. So, I mean, I guess we'll kind of see how that all works. But I'm with you, man. I think it's Bills are the class of the AFC East. And I'm willing to take off the Jets' glasses to say that. They are a Super Bowl contender. They got a superstar quarterback. We got a great team, continuity in a lot of places. Now, some of that continuity will be questioned. Remember, Brian Daboll's with the Giants, and they kind of had a promotion there with Dorsey. So that will be an interesting challenge to see how Josh Allen bounces back from that or overcomes that adversity. But to be honest with you, I say it the same way as you do, Jet Fighter. I think we should all be pretty positive about what's going on. Okay, let's keep going here. We got a lot of comments. So again, guys, if you want, wow, we got like 1 million comments here. So I'll try to get to as many of these as possible here before we sign off. Again, if you want to make sure you guarantee get a comment and super chat it, you will cut this line. There's like 1 million questions in here. Like I said, I want to get to as many of these as possible. By the way, if I don't get to your question, feel free to tweet at me at BoyGreen25, and I'll try to get it off camera and tweet at you and give you your answer for whatever you're looking for. So we'll go on here for a few more minutes. Let me just kind of glance through here. Okay, last good offense, 2015. That's right. Remember Ryan Fitzpatrick, Eric Decker, Brandon Marshall, Chris Ivory. Yeah, that was a really good team. Let's see. Let's see. Harold H. I really like Brees Hall. I saw him early in his career. Said he could be a really good fit if he continues to work. Yeah, the speed, the athletic numbers are great, and yes, the work ethic's really good too. So he does check off a lot of boxes. Um, oh, we had a Cowboys fan in here. I'm a Cowboys fan. Just messing around. I like Al Toon, Wesley Walker back in the day, Ken O'Brien. Yes, sir. Yeah, there's a lot to like there, for sure. Wow, we're getting a lot of random fans in here, which is great. I guess they're just trying to crap on the parade because, right, the headline of this is Jets kill the draft. So I guess we're kind of getting a couple Debbie Downers in here. That's really sad. Jets add speed this year. They sure did with Garrett Wilson. No question about it. Really like that. Wow, Green Ghost is really making some hay in here that is apparently making a lot of people angry. A lot of Green Ghost comments. Appreciate the support, Green Ghost. Hopefully you're subscribed. I'm seeing a million comments in here. Raiders. Wow, we're getting like random. What the hell? Where are all these fans coming from? I mean, this is great. We're a very open, channel here. So don't discriminate. Raiders, Broncos, Jets, Cowboys, whatever you got going on. But appreciate all the support. Well, in wrapping here as we kind of work our way around, again, we got a great week for you guys. We'll be back here on the live stream on Wednesday for the Jet Zone podcast. So hope you guys can be back for that. Make sure you hit the bell notification on the channel so you don't miss any of the videos, and make sure you hit subscribe as well. So we got a couple of things coming up this week. Like I said, our Meet the Fleet series, we'll be talking to, insiders about all the prospects that came into the Jets. We'll have one for each of them. Plus, I'll try to dive in on some of the UDFAs as well. There's a playlist on the channel for that. Again, Meet the Fleet. That will be the kicker. So, guys, make sure you check that out. And also, like I said, we have the Jet Zone podcast. We got Meet the Fleet, and we got a very special guest joining us on Monday, an NFL insider, Ari from Pro Football Focus, to grade this draft, recap the draft, and all that. That's going to be fun. Set up that superstar guest last week, so I'm looking forward to introducing Ari onto the show for the very first time. He's a mini Adam Schefter out there. Breaking news on Twitter. And again, guys, also feel free to do this. If there are guests you want on the show, feel free to reach out and let me know the kind of guests and people that you want to see on the program, because I am a show of the people. I am a man of the people. So I would love to get those kind of guests on the show. We've had some superstars. We'll have more. We will take a little bit of break in the middle of May as we kind of regroup. But, of course, you'll still get the Jets podcast. We'll try to do as many live streams as possible for all you crazy fans out there. But I want you guys to say this as we close and you enjoy this draft and enjoy this weekend, baby. This was a foundational draft for the Jets. To me, they are in the playoff conversation, and Zach Wilson will have every opportunity to be the superstar quarterback we all believe he can be. It will be up to him to seize the day, as Robin Williams once said. All right, everybody, that's going to sign us off here for Boy Green on a variety of platforms, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. Like I said, make sure you like the video, hit subscribe, show your support, baby. We're fired up, and as you should be, for what was a wonderful draft for the New York Football Jets. All right, everybody, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Great draft, and we'll have more coming for you later.